70% of all gold production in the U.S. comes from a single state, Nevada. Conventional wisdom says that all the good deposits have been found. But one geologist who's discovered more than 30 million ounces of gold says he knows where to find Nevada's missing gold. And right now, he may be on the verge of being proven right. Investors and speculators can learn more at futuremoneytrends.com/gold.
Hello everyone, and welcome into Future Money Trends. I got a returning guest today. His name is Bo Polny of Gold2020forecast.com. He's made a number of successful forecasts, and it's time for an update. And I do want to go over your successful forecast, Bo. But first of all, Bo Polny, thanks for joining me.
Ken, thank you. I appreciate you reaching out again, and yeah, I really look forward to this follow-up interview. So thank you very much, and I look forward to speaking with you today. Thank you.
All right, Bo. So I got a list here, and I do want to cover this because it kind of lends itself to your credibility and the things that we talked about. So you have a number of successful forecasts, including gold 2011 top at 1900, silver 2011 top at 49, China's market top of April 29th, 2015 top, and U.S. stock market top on July 20th, 2015. Now, in interviews you've done with me, here's a list of some spot-on forecasts. In August 2015, you said that August 2015 would be a temporary low for stocks, and it was. You said that September there will be no Shemitah crash, and there was none. In our interview in the first week of November 2015, you said markets were to drop in November after rising from August, and they sure did. Now, in our last interview on December 3rd, 2015, you said gold just made its final 5-year low the day we spoke at 1,045, and the stock markets were to crash again in December for 7 consecutive days, and both occurred. In fact, the markets all fell for 2 weeks, and the forecast for gold low was exact to the date. Now today, gold closed at $1,228, up $183 off the December 1,045 low. Also, in December 3rd, 2015 interview, you stated all world markets would break their respective August 2015 low by January 2016, and they did just that. Bo, those are a lot of predictions there, and they're all coming true. So let's start off with your assessment of the global economy that is sending precious metals, specifically gold, higher and higher. What is going on here in this new 2016 year?
Thanks, Ken, for going through all those. I think it's really important for listeners to understand that, that's a lot of successful forecasts. And I mean that in a way to it's just important to pay attention because what's coming is terrible. Okay, the point of that was to illustrate that it's possible to forecast, okay? And they're done through calculations. So now using the same calculations, there's more forwards, okay? And the time forwards. When I was on Greg Hunter just a week and a half ago, I specifically paused and used the words, if you don't have your gold and silver by the end of February, okay? And if you're not made some position, got out of your positions in the stock market by the end of February, it's going to be too late. We're basically out of time. So people who haven't bought gold, bought silver, they're going to be paying a lot more for it. People who are still in the stock market and don't get out are going to be in a very bad situation because the markets are going to crash. So there is a time point, just like all those points you referenced, all those successful forecasts. There is another time point coming up here very soon. Okay. And that's the last day to get out in the stock market. And then those who are interested in shorting it, well, then they can use that same date to then put the short positions on. But I've had people contacting me, subscribers calling all the time or emailing saying, I want to short the markets, and I keep telling everybody, no, not yet. Wait, there's not. And so the shorting point, or the point is, it's soon, but we're not there just yet. And again, you know how we pick dates to do our interview. So I'm glad you reached out, and I'm glad we were able to do this interview today. And again, today is the 24th of February. I have this as a cycle low for gold because it's about to get extremely exciting.
Bo, so in that vein, let's talk about the difference between financial assets and real assets, real money like gold. So let's talk about first the difference between the stock market and the bond market and what they represent in our economy. And with that, please explain this transfer of wealth from financial assets to real assets as they relate to stocks and bonds.
Well, a transfer of wealth it's a physical asset would be like gold, silver, things you can hold in your hand. And so everything else is paper. So what I foresee happening, and again, I look at the charts and then I try to interpret what the charts are telling me is going to come. But what I see happening is that the price of gold is going to double very soon, this year. Okay, I'm extremely serious about that. The price of gold is going to double this year, and it's not going to be by the end of the year. It's going to be sooner rather than later. But as the price of gold doubles, the stock market gets cut in half. And so what ends up happening is that with the stock market crashing, getting cut in half, gold doubling in price, as I mentioned, I did the presentation on that on the Greg Hunter interview. But basically the point of that is if you're in the stock market, when the dust settles, you're only going to be able to buy 25% of what you would have bought in gold at this current date in February. On the other end of it, if you don't buy gold, you're going to be paying twice as much for it. And if your money's in the stock market, well, you're going to lose half your money before you even buy the gold, which would have doubled in terms of time and price. So the point is, a transfer of wealth is when gold explodes in price, stocks crash, and so if you are in the stock market, you've basically that's a 400% loss. If you're in gold, it's a 400% gain, if that makes sense. So that's a transfer of wealth. It's just one shoots up, other one crashes, and at the end of when the dust settles, you're either on this side of the fence or you're on that side of the fence.
So, Bo, what exactly is happening that's going to cause the markets to crash? And I guess why are we going to see this crash in financial assets?
Okay, so now you're asking a question of why, and those questions are not answered in cycles. You see what I'm saying? I can tell you the when, but not the why.
Okay.
So without giving away the when, but that's a part of what we have. Will be events that are going to happen within the world that are going to cause gold to explode in price because of an event, probably currency event. And like I described, in the other interviews, is that if the dollar gets devalued by a percentage or crashes by a percent, by say 10 or 20, say by 20%, for example, even those people that hold bonds, the countries that hold bonds, yeah, they might be happy they hold the bonds because on a crash, the bonds, would go up. But the problem is the dollar, when you go to sell that bond, the dollar devalued by 20%. So even if the bond gave you 1.7 return, say 2 for simplicity, you would have still lost 18% because of the dollar devaluation or crash. And so it's just these paper assets are going to be problems. So the dollar drops in value because the dollar will fall.
And you believe there'd be a loss of faith, and that's where the transfer of wealth is going to happen because of the loss of faith.
Yeah, because I had two charts, money, currency was created by government and must be backed by faith and confidence to have value. Okay, make sense?
Absolutely. No, I get it.
Gold is created by God, requires no faith and no confidence to be money. Okay, so you take away faith and confidence, and the system cracks. And then gold will explode in price because it is money. and it will be the money that will then therefore support, the new system that starts to rise out of what's about to happen.
Bo, a few days ago, we saw gold go up by like $50 in one day. And this was a big news. I mean, we haven't really seen an up day in gold like that, 4.5%, 5% move or so. And even today, at least for a short while, gold was up about $25, which again, we don't see this very often. Now, in a previous interview, I asked about price manipulation, and you stated nothing can go on forever. And it now, referring to manipulation, is about to end. What sort of daily moves are you expecting to see going forward if gold breaks price manipulation?
New highs. It's all going to happen very quickly, but what's going to happen as the markets are collapsing, gold goes to new highs. Okay, they're inverted cycle. The stock market and gold are inverted. People believe that because, in 2007, stocks market crashed and gold went with it. No. Stock market crashed in 2007, a dollar went up. Okay, this time, every time since August of 2015, every time the stock markets crash, so too is the dollar. Okay, so this time around, when the stock market crashes, the dollar is going to crash with it. Gold's going to go vertical, and so the manipulation is going to end. Price gold will reset in terms of price, and you're going to have a price explosion. So it'll be in the hundreds of dollars with the move that's going to happen. Presently, the initial target my subscribers are getting right now, and we do have a time point for this, but the point is the initial target that we're looking for right now, and before I even give that number, is there's one rule. When a low comes in and it's a final bear market low, when a bear market ends, what starts, Ken? A bull market. Right. What's the number one rule? Never, ever, ever short a bull market. Okay, that's the number one rule. So people who are short the bull market are about to experience some massive pain because the next target is 1,400 on gold. Okay, and so people who went short of the market because of COT numbers or commitment of traders and it's going to. All rules change because all the rules they had for the past 3, 4 years, 5 years were in a bear market trend. Those rules change when a bull market forms and starts.
So, Bo, regarding the timing of our interview, what is significant about us doing this interview now? And you kind of touched on it at the beginning of the interview. What is significant about the end of February going into the rest of 2016?
Gold's going to have its next explosion vertical. It's going to have its next move. So when I did an interview with Greg Hunter, I basically, just before that, we had lines drawn out. This is the chart that I emailed to you. So if you're looking at it right now, Ken, what you'll see is a big price spike where gold jumped up to 1265, I think it was. And that was when it took out and went through the 500 and the 600-day moving average. And if you remember that interview, I said that's called blue skies, okay? You see all those lines? Those are all moving averages, okay?
Right.
The 200 to 300-day have never been breached in 3 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's fair to say we're in a bull market at this point.
Right. Exactly. And all that happened after the Greg Hunter interview is the price dropped 2 days later. It came back and it tested the October top at 1191. So the resistance became support. Boom, it reverse took off, it formed a triangle, and it's about to take off, go vertical again. And so we have another price target and a date scheduled, very in the near future here, with some big price move vertical. And so the point of today's interview was because the price move is supposed, again, every time I put a date to something, you're off by a day and people go crazy, okay? But I will say that today's the 24th of February, and there's a very good probability tomorrow, the 25th, we could have our initial move to the upside, and it should starting tomorrow, the 25th. If it takes a few days extra here or there, it makes no change or no difference. But the point is, I expect the upcycle to begin very, very soon here, and it could, again, I use the word could, be as early as tomorrow, the 25th. But regardless, we're supposed to have a very impressive move here on the precious metals, and that's specifically why I said in the Greg Hunter interview, you must have your positions, you must own your gold and silver, if you're wanting some before the end of February.
Bo, let's talk about silver. Is silver going to be gold's little brother in this move and follow along? What are your expectations for silver here in 2016?
Gold bottomed on December 3rd. Silver bottomed 2 weeks later on December 15th. Okay, gold always bottoms first, silver bottoms second. This is how cycles work. Okay, so gold first makes a bottom, silver makes a second, silver then follows, makes a bottom up a little bit later. And then once the bottoms come in, gold leads its way up because gold already bottoms, so it's usually several weeks ahead of silver. And then silver does a game of catch up. So in terms of time, because it bottoms 2 weeks later. So bottom line is silver must do a game of catch up. And it will get to the top sooner. So silver now is going to accelerate in terms of price to the upside very soon here, and it will top before gold does. So silver is going to have some very aggressive moves sooner, and it will get to higher highs faster than gold will.
So you're anticipating gold doubling this year. What are you anticipating for silver?
A minimum of 3, but probably 4.
Okay. All right.
So that would put it into new all-time highs, and that's just my initial target on silver, because I still believe we're supposed to hit 3 digits this year on silver.
Bo, so I asked you what we are expecting here in 2016 for gold, and then just to reiterate, what are you expecting for the markets in reverse of that? I know you said by half. Is that what is significant for February in regards to the markets?
Well, it's the last opportunity to get out. If people didn't get out in July when we said the tops in July and people didn't, it's like, oh no, it's going to go higher, but they haven't gotten out, and then November push up higher, they don't get out, and then it pushes up into December, and then it crashes, they don't get out, and everybody stays in the market. If you're staying in the market hoping the price will get up so you can get out, you're running out of time. So that's the point of February. If you haven't made some decisions on where you want to be in the markets and you're not out, you're running out of time. Like there's just hardly any time left.
I think a lot of people are waiting for the market just to kind of go back to its July high, just so they can get out where they once saw their portfolios. But that's a psychological thing that I think a lot of people are going to have to deal with and overcome. But Bo, in a prior interview we had in regards to the December rate decision, you stated the announcement would be short-term negative for gold and short-term positive for the stock market. And again, that's exactly what occurred. Does it matter to you what the Fed does going forward, or is what you are expecting already baked into the cake regardless?
It's all baked into the cake. Cycles are written forward. They're written thousands, hundreds of years ago, however far you want to go. And once you discover how the cycles work, all the cycles are there. And see, the problem with cycle analysis is that it drives the world crazy because people believe that they actually have control over something. In reality, you have control over nothing. The only thing you have control of is your own personal choices in life. But collectively, everything's baked into the cake. And it's what's coming, unfortunately, if people want to believe it or not. But whatever happens in terms of what's said, the bottom line is gold's going up, stock markets are going down, regardless of what's said.
Bo, I really enjoyed discussing this with you today. Are there any closing thoughts that you wanted to share before we hang up here?
Specifically, there's just the timing points. There's, timing is critical. The timing is now very, very short. And, if people are looking to, exit any final positions or do something about the stock market crash, there is a time point that we have here in the near future. And that's a critical time point. And then with gold and silver, we're expecting some very, very exciting moves on gold and silver. And, if you don't have it in your hands, I think you might have a lot of problems in the very near future to get it, because I think once the world wakes up to what gold and silver is, and that's money, I think what's going to happen is people will realize it so quickly that the entire world's going to jump in and want it, and it's going to just dry up.
Well, real quick, I know the world is moving towards a cashless society. I mean, we've already heard news of them wanting to take the $100 bill out of circulation here. What are they going to be able to, and I know you mentioned the price manipulation isn't going to have a control on precious metals going forward, but I guess I'll ask you it this way. I mean, are they going to attempt to control precious metals by taking cash out of the system and monitoring every dollar that's spent?
Probably. But that's the next cycle down on gold, and that's not for a long time. So that's already calculated the cycle as well too. So I know what you're saying, but that's not yet.
All right. Well, that's Bo Polny of gold2020forecast.com. Check out his work there. He regularly updates his subscribers, and he puts out very timely information and very important information at that, as you've heard throughout this interview. So, Bo Polny, thank you so much for coming on the show with me today, and we'll be sure to have you on in the very near future. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Ken, for calling. I appreciate being here, and wish you all the best. God bless.